And we're back.
We're back, guys. I'm not gonna lie, my heart beats fast every time I click go live. I don't think it gets any easier. It has not yet. I'm a
I
little
feel like
nervous.
the countdown feels like the countdown before a workout. You know, when it's like 10 seconds and all of a sudden you get jittery for no reason because it's just a workout. That's how I feel about this.
That's how I am before a competition. I really try to downplay what's about to happen. I'm like, oh, I'm just working out. It's just a Saturday of working out somewhere else. And then the second you get in line to walk out into the floor, you're like, oh shit.
This is for real.
Feels the same. Maybe
Yeah.
one day it's not gonna feel like that. I'm hoping.
Except less pain comes after you hit go live than it does in a workout.
Sometimes because I can't sleep on Thursday nights after we end this, my adrenaline is still
Adrenaline,
going.
yeah. Especially with, some of the wild feedback we've been getting.
Yes. For those of you guys who can count, this is episode number 4, so we made it longer than
I guess
what,
I think I don't have anything else to say now.
yeah.
I ran
It's
my brain emptied at the end of episode 3. It was gone.
nothing else to talk about. You guys, I just want to let you know that even if we have nothing to talk about, we are going to come and sit on this podcast for at least 45 minutes and say nothing because we will not let those people win. Okay. So, over my dead body. So, you guys will be seeing us every Thursday for the foreseeable future, just in
I
case.
promise, like episode 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever of the podcast is not the hardest thing we've ever done.
No, no, we for 45 minutes, we could talk about harder things that we've done than find something to talk about on a podcast. So,
No. Should we dive into some news of the week stuff?
yes, a couple of things going on in the space. I think the biggest thing is the Kale Laiman story. We did a poll on our Instagram, and it was 84% said seems suspicious. I would have to agree with that. I know Mesa, of course, because we differ a lot, maybe has a little bit different of an opinion on that.
I think I actually agree on this. I totally think the whole I could buy he just didn't film it because that happens. I mean, maybe he didn't know he was that good. Maybe from last year he was pretty good. But the not filming it for the money thing seemed hard to with the army to buy. I also just think why did you wait so long? I also think you could have just posted a video of you doing some workout well. It didn't even have to be that workout. But I do also get being bullied on the internet is hard and maybe he got scared. But I think it's what's the word? We're never gonna know. We're never gonna know. There's no way to know unless he literally goes live and does the workout, which he's not gonna do.
Do you think if he did that though, if he did live or submitted a video, do you think it would be laid to rest? Do you think everybody would stop talking about it, or would there be
No,
something?
I think it would be the most lit thing ever. If he went on Hiller and did the workout and got, even within a minute of his time, I think it would be almost awesome. Y'all thought you were talking about me for this long and I'm actually this fit. I just had a bad weekend at Mayhem. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I actually think that'd be the biggest flex ever. But I don't think he's gonna do it. I don't think he can do it. I don't know. I don't know.
I do think it's interesting that it took so long. If you truly are innocent and it was just all of these little things that kept kind of stacking on top of each other, that after April, May, June, 3 months now kind of makes it seem a little fishy. The first couple excuses right away would have been okay, I get it. But then now we've kind of let it go for so long, and now we're finally addressing it. I definitely think if it was me, I'd be no, here's my excuses, believe them or not. But now it seems a little fishy.
Yeah, and the fact that he deleted his Instagram didn't help his cause. I will say, I know some people's way of reacting to negative things is to just shut down and not answer. So, fair, but yeah, then just don't ever answer. Don't come back now. It's a little bit late for. I don't know. I think it's a good story. People are arguing. I think it's a good story.
I'll be interested to see what happens in the near future. And I think it's interesting that Hiller's even still offering him money. Hey, you can still clear your name now that you've come out and said these things, these justifications, and like the money is still on the table, with like some grace to the time as well. Like you don't even have to get your exact time. Like he was giving him, I don't know, 90 seconds or something.
Yeah. I also feel like he looks extremely fit. We know that he has competed at some places in the past where he's been fit-ish. It's not like absurd, but he said someone asked if he's competing in the future. He did say he plans to do some like local comp, but it depends on the Army. So we'll see.
I think so. Yeah, and I guess we'll see what happens next season too, if he even dabbles.
I doubt it. I think he's like, peace out.
I don't know. That would be so, because everybody's going to be looking at his score. No matter if he gets first or like 7,000th, everybody's going to be watching. I'm sure they're going to have something to say. So
yeah, I mean, if I'm him, I'm just done. Like I have a career outside of this. Bye. And I will say, regardless of what he did or didn't do, I did respect that he said like, CrossFit isn't my career. Like the Army's my career. This was like a hobby that I liked. It's not my end all be all goal to go to the CrossFit Games. Like that's probably true.
Yeah.
So go do that.
I agree. I feel like we probably won't be seeing him much, but time will tell after next season starts if he kind of tries to get back in it or not. So I don't know. We'll see. Other big news, Brent was on a couple of podcasts this week, and there's been a lot of chatter about those podcasts. I listened to the Rich Froning podcast with him on it, but I think Mesa, you listened to both, right? The TTT and the Mayhem one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I first want to give kudos to Brent because I don't feel like he definitely has gone on, I think he said like a 42-day trip where he's gone to different affiliates, met with different coaches, and with people who have very different opinions and perspectives, is trying to meet coaches, meet the athletes, have a presence. And I think that matters. Even if people are like, what is it doing? I think he's trying. He's going out there. He's obviously like a lot of the podcast was about this movement standard database they're creating as a resource for competitions, athletes, coaches, whatever. And I think, listen, they're doing something. Everyone's talking about it. He's out there doing something. My personal opinion is that there's probably no one better to be in that position than him for how, one, well-spoken and like analytical he is. And then two, I was really impressed with how freaking passionate he is about it. And on the TTT podcast, they put that like preview of him crying, and I was like, gotta watch this now. And I thought it was cool because it's right after the Mayhem one, so Max got to ask like follow-up questions from the Mayhem one. And Brent, they asked him like, you're not an athlete anymore, why do you care so much about this stuff? Essentially, I'm paraphrasing, and he started crying because it means that much to him. And he said he cares about this more than he ever cared about being an athlete, which is mind-blowing, but also like so freaking cool. I feel like last week Dex was talking about, his calling and all these things, and it kind of felt like this might be it for him. And that's crazy because he was such an accomplished athlete to have like another calling.
Yeah. I think we talked on the phone after I listened to the Rich Froning podcast, and my biggest takeaway from that was that all of us sit behind a keyboard and we say, CrossFit's not doing enough, I'm so unhappy, or whatever, WFP, like whatever it is that we complain about, we just sit behind a keyboard and complain for the majority of us. And, some athletes sat out of the season, and that's kind of how they took their stance. But Brent is one of those people that are actively unhappy with something and trying to change it. And I think that says a lot about him. And I think more of us need to do that. He obviously has the power and, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the reputation to do something like that. And no better person, like kind of nerdy stuff, right? And like he's the professor and the perfect person to do that. So whether or not you agree with what he's doing in the PFAA, I think like we have to, like tip our hats to him that he is actively doing something and trying to change something that he's unhappy about instead of just like sitting back and letting it ride. So,
and I think that like going off of that, Rich and Angela were very vocal about, they didn't agree with the list of demands they put out, or at least not all of them, right? And they thought, and I think it was like such a cool conversation because one, as like clickbaity and like jokey, angry Rich is on Instagram, he's very good in his podcast about having conversations with people he may not agree with. And I think that it like brought everyone a little bit closer, right? Like if there's stuff they didn't agree on, but they were able to like see each other's sides, same as like me and you do all the time, I think. And Brent seemingly handles people who don't agree with him because he's in a position where a lot of people aren't going to agree with him pretty well. Like he just is like pretty matter of fact, not emotional about conflict. And I think from my perception, like Rich and Angelo had a lot more things they disagreed than Max. And those were both like such good conversations and brought up so many different perspectives. And I thought that was really cool. I think the PFAA, what they're trying to do is still a little murky. And I think even Brent said that, like, we're still trying to figure it out. But like you said, they're doing the thing. They're trying to make something up. Like, they're out there doing something.
Yeah, and all the comments on, not all of them, okay, I didn't read all of them, the ones that I skimmed, all really good feedback on Rich's podcast, just about being able to have a conversation where clearly they probably don't agree on most things, but just able to talk through it. And I think we've said it since we've started, like that's kind of also what we're trying to do. And there needs to be more of that in the space instead of everybody pointing fingers and saying you're wrong, but tell me why. I think definitely needs to be more long form content like that, because I think it was a great conversation. So
yeah, and I think, like, not to get too big with it, but we definitely live in a time where it is hard to disagree. Like, everything's so polarizing. And I think if more people who had different opinions could come to the table, you'd find a little more common ground so it wasn't so heated. I feel like everything is so like over the threshold of finding a solution. So honestly, like, kudos to Rich, because I feel like he's been having a lot of those conversations with WFP, with Brent, with PFA. Like, he's doing it.
Yep. I'm going to pull this comment up. Tega says, are you guys doing the WFP qualifiers? I am severely broken right now.
I'm fixing her.
I have a lot of injuries, like small nagging stuff. So I'm just really trying to chill right now. And then I'm traveling next week. So no.
I literally opened a gym less than in single digit days ago. So probably not, but I might do them for fun. Probably not sign up, but just try them out. They're also very heavy elite workouts typically. So it's not, I mean, they're made for elite level competitors, but I thought they were super well programmed. We will talk about this at a different time, but they were fun workouts.
Yeah, they looked fun. But
they looked painful, but fun.
There is whatever one with the GHD setups minus the GHD setups, but whatever workout that was would definitely be my jam, except for that. I think there was like rowing and wall balls. I could be wrong, but that was the only one that I would maybe entertain trying to do.
We're such different humans. Because probably of those, all I would like are GHD sit-ups. But last thing on our list of kind of housekeeping or updates of the week is we both watched Hiller's video on Fikowski today. Which, if you haven't watched it, I will try not to spoil a lot of it.
But no spoilers. Close your ears.
It was. Spoilers. I think it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I have always respected Fee. Thought she was just. I interviewed her at WFP and literally asked her, like, where does your joy come from, right? Because she's just like a ray of sunshine in human form, and I could not respect her more after this video. I think it was such a good, vulnerable video, and. Hot take, this is not my hot take, but a hot take right now is I wish this was all Hiller did, because he's very good at these videos and I absolutely love them. And I think he's a good storyteller, and it was so well put together. And it was like the perfect length, the perfect emotions. I just thought it was so well told.
Yeah, hands down, I think the best content that's coming from the CrossFit space right now is his 48 hours, I think is what they're called. Really insightful about what goes into their training, a little bit of background, getting to know them. And I think there definitely needs to be more of that. I know there was in the past and we kind of strayed away from that, but again, hats off to him. It was wonderful. One of the best things I've watched for CrossFit content. So.
And I think, like, she's just such a champion of women, and it showed so much in that video. And, us being woman-owned business, woman podcast. Like, it was really cool. And then I also think he's obviously done a very good job of like creating a safe space for athletes, because a lot of athletes have trusted him with vulnerable, tough topics or personal stories. And I think that is like something super special that hasn't always been the case with a lot of CrossFit media.
I agree. Yeah, no, definitely agree. It's a little scary to put yourself out there sometimes, and he's doing a good job with, I don't know how he does it, but he's doing a good job with everybody he's talked to.
Yeah, I don't know, because he is kind of controversial and harsh sometimes, but people do love telling him things. But I love it. But we will get to our topic today, which is training camps, hot or not. Are you ready?
Somebody said, I think, let me go back to the comment. I think they were talking about the topic. This is more of a 2022, 2024 question, maybe, but they're still training camps, so I feel like we can talk about them.
There's still a lot of them. Like,
I mean, yes, they're very relevant still. So I think there's not as many popping up as there were years ago. So maybe that's why that comment was made. But overall, let's talk about like training camps as a whole. So not any specific training camps, but just generalized. Do we think they're hot or not?
You first.
I think they're not. Okay, first of all, you guys, I am one of the biggest haters of things that people love. And a perfect example is I have never seen the movie Frozen, because when Frozen came out, I refused to watch it because nobody would shut up about that movie. I feel the same about a lot of things in life. So I don't
people, basically, that's the point of that.
I just don't think they're hot. Overall, I don't think they thrive. There's like some camps that stick out, obviously, but overall, I don't think they've been super successful. And like I said, we'll dive into the ones specifically, but
I would actually agree with that. Wow, we might agree. Well, soon we're going to disagree, but we'll enter the episode agreeing. I do kind of agree that I don't think training camps are super hot, because we'll get into this, but like in recent years, we've seen a lot of athletes kind of break off and do the one-on-one thing or do their own stuff. And I think it takes a very specific type of personality to be able to train with your competitor and not let it affect the difference between performance and training, right? And that's hard. Like, even me being a very not competitive athlete, like, I go to class, I want to throw down. Like, that's why I work out alone a lot, because I'll push myself to like the max every day, and that's not good. And I think training camps, when they get really big, there's a lot of personalities, a lot of different things, and then those are your competitors. It's hard. And like, as a coach who programs, like, different athletes need very different things, right? Like, what motivates them, so camps can get murky when you have a lot of athletes potentially receiving the same type of coaching.
Do you think that, like you mentioned, the environment, like, kind of cutthroat every day, even though your training partners, let's say, but you are still competing, trying to maybe be faster or stronger? Do you think that preps you, though? Because that's like, we'll say, what the games or a live competition is like. Like, you are no longer training partners, you are now competitors. So does that environment prep you for something like that?
Potentially, but I also think you could do that once every 3 months and get have a training partner come in and get a good prep. And I would say if you tend to compete, the benefits do not outweigh, or the cons outweigh the pros, because you're going to compete all the time. Like, and I think there's something special about showing up at competition day and it being different than training, right? Like, I don't know. But you know what? Some people thrive in those environments. And I think it kind of is like knowing yourself, right? Like, some athletes are going to do really well I think it's a lot better when you have opposite gender athletes training together.
And I mean, if you look at the successful people who have competed, like Matt and Tia were perfect examples of training partners. They're not competitors, but still pushed each other and can train together every day. But at the same time, I think it's very glaring that some of the people that we've seen on podiums recently don't belong to a training camp. You know, we talk about Justin Medeiros, Jeff Adler, Ariel Lowen, like, none of them belong to training camps, train alone for the most of the time, and they've all been very successful in competition. So it's kind of hard not to look at why that is. I don't know why that is, just definitely something that we realized when we were talking about it.
Should we dive into training camp number 1?
Yeah, let's do it. Number 1 is going to be Underdog. We'll go ahead and just say if individually we think hot or not, and then we'll kind of talk about why we have those stances. So I will start, and it pains me to say, Underdog is not hot. And I really, really hate saying that. What about you?
I say, despite it not having the best of the best, I do think it's hot. Should I say my reasons why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think Justin Kotler's relationships with athletes is next to none. Like, you don't see relationships like Justin Kotler has with his athletes. And I think that, like, fire, passion, whatever it is unparalleled. I think even like I love DB. I watched the documentary, and obviously that came up, like her leaving Underdogs, and even she said, like, nobody loves you like Justin does or whatever. And I was like, you see it. And we saw it live at WFP. And I think that aspect of it is hot.
And that's why I hate to say it, because I love him so much and how he is so ride or die for every single athlete that he coaches. Like, so
100%.
ingrained into their life. Like, it's amazing to see, but like none of those athletes have ended up being successful, whether it's injury or COVID or whatever has happened. Like,
Okay, but like, define, you mean top successful?
well, yes. Yeah, they are successful athletes, but every year it's like, oh, Ricky's really going to do it. Alex is going to do it. DB is going to do it. And again, it's been all weird circumstances. But we've never really seen an athlete come out of there, stay, and then really do something cool.
I think Carrie Pierce was probably, she was a podium athlete, so his closest to winning a major competition, I would say. And she was a staple name for a long time, so I'll give him that. Alex Kazan just won WFP, had, the potential, and then had this awful freak accident, which is just kind of heartbreaking. And he made a post about, did you see his post about it? And it was just like, you hurt for him a little bit, because it was maybe his and her year, but who knows? We'll see. I do think that while I absolutely love seeing his relationship, I made a whole photo journal on it on WFP Tour 1. I think it could be to their detriment, because I think, like, when you're too close to something that you can't always see clearly, it's almost the thing of like, you can't, like, as a physical therapist, don't really treat your family because you'll fight about it, kind of thing. And his athletes do become like his family, seemingly, from the outside. And I think that could make you lose some objectivity, maybe.
Agreed. I'm going to pull this comment. It says, is Underdog still considered a training camp? Seems like he's hit his stride with focusing on a few athletes. And there was also another comment earlier about Justin Medeiros and Ellie Turner training together. Does that make them a training camp because the two of them train together? Like, what exactly makes a training camp? How many athletes is that considered? Is it only if you move there? It does get kind of murky.
Yeah. I think, like they said, do they just have to have a name? And like, I think, yeah, like once you have a name, it becomes a brand, a training camp. Like, even, we'll get into it, but like Emma Lawson and Jack Farlow were with their coach that last year retired, and he made a name called Mammoth, and then it was Mammoth Training, and I think Erica Folo was under there too, and that would consider that a camp, even though he only had a few athletes, versus like Adam, Justin's coach, like doesn't have a brand of coaching. He's just a coach to Adam and maybe Trista Smith, but like until you name it and brand it, I wouldn't consider it a camp. Not that that makes it worse or better. I just think that's how I would define it.
So that's the only difference then, you think, is a brand?
Yeah, like, because I think like a brand has a potential to sell, make money, get sponsors, those things, whereas like a single coach, they're not like actively seeking out more athletes potentially. And like some, yeah, you say some are small, but like I remember when CompTrain back in the day was like really the biggest camp, he said he would only ever have like 2 girls and 2 guys, I think, or maybe 3 and 3 elite. So like to focus his energy. So I don't think the like quantity necessarily is indicative of anything. I think it's more like, is it a brand or not, you know?
So I guess that would mean, and we're kind of like spiraling off on a different thing, but if there was no physical location, because a lot of times we think training camp, everybody moves to one home location and trains under that same roof. If it was just an online brand and nobody moved there, there is no like headquarters, we'll say, is that still, would we still consider that a training camp?
Yeah, because that's brute.
For the most part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part.
But anyways, wrapping up Underdogs.
TTT, Training Think Tank. No surprise to anybody. I'm gonna say not hot. I hate doing this, but I'm still gonna say not hot.
Wow, we're gonna just have such different opinions, but I say hot. My reason being, okay, so Max is the head coach, but there's also Adam, who I believe is Alexis Raptis' coach. I think the thing that made me feel like they were hot is they've demonstrated the ability to have longevity with athletes, right? Like even Alexis, who might, I cannot stop knocking this over. Oh my goodness, I need to stop talking with my hands. Even Alexis, who might like seem new, has been in the game for a long time because she was a teen athlete. I think Noah Olson was a TGT athlete, and he is the epitome of longevity, right? Like he's been in the game for so long, Travis Mayer. And I think there's something to be said for, even if you're not at the top of the top, being able to have a career for that long without any mass injuries that get you out of the game is hot. I'll give it to him. And I also really like Max's content and Max's interviews, so maybe that's a little bias.
A little bias. When we were talking about who to talk about, Mesa said TTT, and I was like, who do they even have? And then
we have Lydia Fish this year, first time. Yeah. They also have Annika Greer this year, first time, which is really like they have a lot of people.
I know. I don't know why I think that. I don't know. And then when we start talking about it, I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine. And like, if you talk about longevity, sure, like that is really cool. You have to like give them props for that. And like Noah made it seasons, I think, without ever being hurt, you know, like nothing that took him out at least. And maybe same with Travis. I'm not for sure on that, but able to stay in the game for a really long time. And I think that's cool. And they're awesome people. All of them are great. Everybody under their training camp, I think, is like good-hearted people or seems to be. So like them for that. But I feel like nobody's really made a splash for me to say that they're hot. There's promise. Like I will give them that there's promise. But everybody keeps saying Alexis Raptis is the next best thing. And I put her so high this year in my rankings, and every single time.
I know.
It just didn't happen.
I mean, one of the things I kind of had on my notes is like, do we, and I asked her this in WFP, you know, she's talked a long time about not being healthy, and now she seemingly has kind of got her health under control to some extent, right? Like in the Hiller video, she talked about it, that she's a healthier athlete now. And I feel like she has all the components to be the best, and I just need them to come together, and they haven't yet. Do you think they can?
I don't know. TTT, specifically Alexis Raptis, is somebody who I'm like, now you kind of have to prove to me that you are what you say you are, kind of thing. But like, I believe in it. Like she seems, and that's why everybody said, oh, she's finally healthy again. Like now she's really going to make a splash. I'm like, what a letdown. Because I want her to succeed. Same with Annika Greer. Like, hopefully this year's her year where there's like everything goes.
She's been doing really, really well. Like she's on the up and up. So
I'm like in the middle. So I just need to be like nudged a little bit to one way, and hopefully this season is the season. But for right now, it's not.
I'm here for that.
I love you guys though.
HWPO, hard work pays off.
Not.
Also, not, but it's a very, very sad not for me, because I so badly want to love HWPO for a lot of reasons. First of all, Matt post competition, super cool dude. I feel like we got all this personality, this new thing. He was like, I'm gonna teach people all my tricks. They have the most powerhouse staff of coaches, between like Amy Everett weightlifting, Michelle now from DECA, like left and came over. They had Rob Kearney from Strongman. They had like Jake Marconi, longtime athlete. They have just the powerhouse of staff, and it just isn't working.
Yes, I was pumped when they started adding all of those people. I love weightlifting. When I saw Amy Everett went there, I was thrilled.
Hell yeah. Like, this is awesome. Woman power.
Yes.
I'm here for it. And like Maddie Rogers was kind of involved in some of like working out at HWPO, stuff like that. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah. And they just like, the athletes just don't stay. We obviously saw Mal O'Brien just like get burnt out. Everybody else that goes there, it seems like doesn't stay. And they say like, I was living, eating, breathing, like just training, and couldn't get any peace outside of that. And like, that's cool. Like, that's why Matt Frazier was so good, right? Because he was able to do that and sustain that for years. And he's just a special kind of person. 100%. And I don't think what works for him works for the majority of the other people. And I don't really know what the answer is, but it doesn't seem like it's thriving there.
Yeah, I think like him and Sammy had a very like specific relationship that worked for them while he was competing. He was so like, put my head down and nothing else matters. And while that's extremely impressive, you can't always coach people to be an athlete like you. Like, everyone has different needs. And it seems like maybe they weren't able to coach in a way that meets different athletes. But I don't think that, I mean, Mal's come out and said like HWPO was amazing to her. Like, I don't think they're the reason, but yes, I think, and they've lost most of their elite athletes. Now they have Brooke Wells, but I will say, I do feel like Brooke was well established and a phenomenal athlete prior to HWPO. And now she just needs like a little guidance, coaching, programming, but she knows what she's doing. Right. And then I can't really either attribute Pat Vellner to them because he has Michelle, who's been his coach since like day one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think they would have to like revamp, but it does seem like they opened their affiliate and they're kind of going more that route. So maybe they won't be competitive coaching, but as of right now, as far as competitive training camp, not hot.
I am. I'm going to pull Kenneth's comment. He said Brooke is a camp hopper. She has moved around a lot, and I think that has a negative connotation sometimes. But like,
because she was been comp trained and then proven and then HWPO, correct? I think.
Yes.
Which, I mean,
I feel like there was more in between.
10 plus years is not that crazy.
I feel like there was more, and I don't know why I feel like that, but maybe not. I am interested to see how she's going to do. I feel like she has like a good, I'm trying to think of the word. Like, she's been around for so long. She, like you said, she knows what she's doing, but she definitely, she wants to get on the podium, like needs something to nudge her again, like a little bit towards that. I don't know if HWPO is going to be that. Hopefully it is, but it seems like she does need a little something to help her move the needle a little bit.
And I also think like she had some really major injuries, and sometimes some of that is like you just need a fresh start after that, regardless of, you need a new environment. You need to kind of separate from the things that maybe in your mind are associated with that. So I wouldn't say like, oh, camp hopper. I don't view it that way.
Yeah. And also, who cares if you have to move to like
figure out what works? Yes, it's all fitness, right?
Like, you do the same, like, especially when all the camps were popping up, because we went from like 0 to 10, and you have choices, so why not use them? If one's not for you, you try it out and you go to another one. Who cares?
And I think like when her sister started competing, they said like when they train together, they compete, which is like exactly what we talked about. And that might not be the best thing for them on a day-to-day basis, because they need to, do their own thing and not be trying to throw down and beat your sibling every day.
I do think that's an interesting dynamic. And I was surprised to see that they separated because they are so close, but maybe from a competitor standpoint. Because
when I interview them at WFP, they do say like they miss training together and they wish they could train together more, but that it was like not a healthy thing because it became hyper competitive. Yeah. And that's like, if you think that's going to happen between two people training, imagine your twin. Like,
I would just have FOMO when I would go home, because I think they live together, but I like, One would be
What did
like
you do
somebody
today?
would be
Like,
talking, yes, like what'd you do today? Oh, that sounds fun. I wish I was doing that. I don't know. I feel like I would
yeah,
missing out, especially because Brooke was a part of Proven, so now you're kind of out of the loop. I feel like
yeah.
maybe if I was Brooke, I'd feel left out. Maybe not, but
Maybe, I mean, they probably are still all friends. Who knows?
who knows? Nobody ever really knows.
Um, but yeah, do you
Mm,
want to do our next one?
yeah, Brute's next on the list. I'm gonna surprise you guys. I'm gonna say hot.
I don't think that surprises anyone. I think if we're playing ugly hot or hot ugly, they absolutely break the game and are just hot hot. I said it on our last podcast with Dex, who's a Brute coach, that I've always been impressed by Brute because they're one of the first camps to ever do like completely individualized programming. So multiple people in the camp are not only doing like some camps, they do like similar things that are tailored. They're like completely individualized, right? And I think that's so important. And I think that's really cool. And more people are doing that now. I also think they're a relatively small camp and they seem to have their like own vibe, own thing going on that's very different. They do things different. The way Matt and Elle talk about things is different. And I think they're like kind of their own thing. I don't know.
I mean, to me, when you look at what's happened very recently, is any competition that they go to, they have somebody on the podium or very close to it.
In more than one division, usually.
Correct. And it's very obvious, like it's hard to transition from a teen athlete to an elite athlete. And they've had multiple athletes that have made that transition what seems to be fairly easily. Now, we see that a lot in the female athletes, and all of them have been male athletes, right? At Brute. So,
yeah, now they have Emma Lawson, but yes.
Yeah, and I guess they weren't coaching her for that transition, but seems like they kind of
Have a niche
found
for that, yeah.
the magic to like be able to sustain this for long periods of time.
For sure.
And when they show up, they prove to people why they need to be there. And to me, out of all of the camps, they're the only ones that are really doing that, making a splash, showing up and winning stuff. So that is why they got my vote for being hot.
And I think like when we list off their athletes like Dallin, Jason, James, DB, Fee, Emma, like all of them are people that everybody knows. Like they have the big names. And I think when we're talking about the transition, what's really cool is we talked about like Justin Kotler's passion, right? I think Matt Torres is a very special relationship with specifically like Dallin James, right? Because he's been with them for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems just from what I've seen that like the athletes really participate in the programming with Matt. Like they come to like these plans and these cycles together. And because most of his athletes have been there for so long, they're like able to, like the athlete knows what they need. He knows how to work with them. And it's kind of like a collaboration. And I think that is like super special because a lot of times it's like, just tell me what to do. And like you want the athlete to have some autonomy and that's clearly working, right?
Yep. Is DB a Brute athlete?
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
I don't know.
I do.
I don't know if she is or not. But we're gonna.
Well, Coach Elle is the Brute coach. I believe she is.
She is coached by a Brute coach. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you see this?
I just wish Brute was located better than North Florida. Sorry, Kate. Honestly, I think Jacksonville is better than Naples. I lived in Naples before. Naples has a bunch of old people that lives there, so it has to be better than that. So I think it's better than nothing. So
I will also say, oh, go ahead.
Someone also said that DB is a free agent. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know. The water's murky there. If anybody has the info, let us know.
I think she's with Coach Elle. Coach Elle's a Brute coach. It's got to be that way, right? But I also think something else that I think is pretty hot about Brute is seemingly, especially with the boys, they have taken it upon themselves to make brands. Like they're so in the media, they're doing podcasts. Jason and Dallin and James making all these like hilarious reels and bromances, and I feel like they're bringing some of that fun trash talk silliness back to competition, which we haven't had in a while. And I like the Brute Boys. We talk like their interview was hysterical that I did with them. Like they're just a good time and they're very like close knit and competitive. And I think that's like super hot that they are bringing that back to the space.
I love the podcast. But some people do say, like, is the content taking away from them being athletes? Like, is that something that they should be focusing on? Is it cool that they're having fun? I think it's cool to see people, like we talked about DB last week on the podcast too, like going out and still having fun and having a life outside of CrossFit. So I think it's cool, but I see people saying otherwise on the internet.
I also think, like, again, it's going to be person dependent, right? Like someone like Matt was able to do that. I almost feel like also Rich, right? Rich was able to do an absurd amount of volume, but that doesn't work for everyone. Fee talked about that on the Hiller thing today, how like when she trained with Scott Panchik, it was like more, 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 more. And then they reined it so far back in and she performed really like a lot better with less volume. And I think some athletes need to be hyper focused and need that to be everything. And like, look at Jason Hopper. He went to Brute. He's seemingly doing a lot better because he has that balance. So it's going to be – that's why coaches need to understand, like, how to coach their specific athlete or athletes because everyone needs something different. Like, what motivates you, what, like, grounds you, different things, right?
No, that makes sense. I don't disagree. Not at all. Anything else about Brute before we move on?
Do you think Brute's going to be on both female and male podiums at the games? Yes.
A male athlete for sure. If maybe even two, depending on
maybe even three.
Maybe even three.
That'd be wild. I don't know if they could do three, but two, I think they could.
If we're gonna say DB is a Brute athlete, I would love to see her on the podium for sure. I know Emma Lawson is out this year for at least the CrossFit Games, but Fee, I think stands a chance. I know she said too she wants to be top 10. I think it depends on what the tests or the events are. I don't know what we're calling them these days because it changes every time. But I mean, I'm hopeful. I think they stand a chance more than anyone else, I think, to make podiums, both podiums. So
next up we have Proven.
Not I'm sorry.
I have kind of a half-half answer. I said from a swag perspective, not hot, but from a performance standpoint, the results speak for themselves. So I said a reluctant hot.
What results besides Tia? Listen, you guys, we had this conversation on the phone yesterday for like
we're gonna have a like repeat argument. Can you tell we're obsessed with this stuff?
And I was like, okay, we need to save this for tomorrow. But this is kind of like where we came to head. I'm like, what besides Tia? What?
Okay. I would say a few things. I think while Sydney Wells is not like a top athlete, they did get her to qualify for the games pretty early in her career. So I think that's impressive. I think Maddie Sturt had not qualified for years on end, and they got her back to qualifying, which is a hard thing. I think Jay Crouch, pretty good. Ricky, pretty good. I don't know. I feel like Gracie Walton also qualified, like in affiliate semis, right? So I don't know. I think their performance speaks for itself.
I just don't like if we talk about games performance. I feel like we really only have Tia. Jay has definitely.
Oh, we didn't. Mertens is proven now too.
He's hurt. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Why is he hurt? But I think they have really good athletes. But if we're talking about people who are going to podium at the games, like Tia, obviously, hands down. But outside of that, like Ricky, I'm the biggest Ricky fan and have been for a long time. And he's one of those people just like Alexis Raptis that I want so badly to do well. And then he just like can never show up. He gets hurt. And
he is kind of like on the tail end of his career, likely. So if he's going to do it, it's got to be now. So I'll give you that. I think also now that I think about when you're saying this, if Tia wasn't on their roster, would Proven be as a big of a deal? Probably not even close. So that's fair.
What track record outside of that?
Yeah, fair. But I think my reason that I said like from a swag perspective, I just think like Brute's real swaggy. They have cool branding. They have cool like their own vibe. I guess Proven has like a lot of Aussie athletes that run deep with each other, but I just don't think it's like real swaggy. Is that fair?
And I think like most of their my dogs are fighting right now, and Walt has the zoomies. So I'm so sorry about what's about to happen. I don't know if you can hear his nails.
Not at all.
Um, I think they're like all really good top 10 contenders for the most part. Like they are good athletes. I just don't think like I think Proven gets put on a pedestal because
Because of
of
skill.
Tia, and they're just like they're not showing up like Brute is. That's for sure. That's my opinion.
People are upset about my term swaggy. I don't have like some, maybe that was a bad term. I just feel like there's an energy vibe, something that's cool about Brew that can't be defined. Maybe that's what I'm going for.
They are the coaches at Brute are definitely swaggy, and I'm sure they'll love to hear that. But
Like, have you seen Coach L? You're like, damn, that dude's got swag. Like you see it.
they all do. Yeah, they have Riz. Is that what the cool kids are saying?
We're too old for this. But next up, last but not least, are we gonna get into this?
Wait. Okay. Actually, I want to add something in. I took Invictus off the list. It was on the list. I took them off the list because I think they're mostly team athletes. But then if we're talking about WFP, that's not really the case because they do have individual athletes there. But they were on the list. I took them off. Maybe I shouldn't have because I didn't really consider them a training camp. And maybe
I think they used to be big time, and they've shifted a lot more to teams. They have multiple affiliates now. They have Danny Spiegel, who's one of, I think she's still Invictus, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's one of the biggest influencers in CrossFit. I think will win any strength event, so that's cool. But yes, we did not put them on there. But should we say our last one that we? Do you want to do this?
Okay, so we made our like cover photo or promo for this week's episode, and about after 24 hours, it was probably Mesa texted me and was like, "We forgot to put Mayhem on there."
I was like, we have to talk about Mayhem. How did we do that?
Mayhem did not even come up when we were talking about training camps, and I was like, maybe this should be a conversation that we have because obviously they are huge, and I don't know how we forgot them.
But I think it's because this is the conclusion I came to in my thought process is I kind of view Mayhem as more than a training camp. It's kind of like a culture. I would say it's like so linked to CrossFit that you think of it as like the mecca of CrossFit, right? Not like a training camp. And I will say they do have, Rich, they have Dom, they have coaches there, but it's not like we know Matt Fraser's the head of HWPO. We know Matt Torres is the head of Brew. I don't think Rich is like branding himself that way as the head of Mayhem Athlete. I think they have other coaches. So I feel like it's like this insanely amazing gym culture affiliate more than I view it as a training camp. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think we're on the same page. And once I really started to think about it, like I look at Mayhem more as like a way of life. And it's so much more than just their athletes. It's the entire culture. I mean, if you watch Mayhem Classic, like hands down, the coolest thing that I've seen in an affiliate, like, yes, I understand, like he has all these resources in the name, but it is definitely a lifestyle, like Tega says, a way of life, CrossFit HQ. So I think they've made a name for themselves for more than just being a training camp, and it is a way of life. And but they obviously have very good athletes
and great coaches. Sorry, I named a few, but not all.
I think they're hot.
Yeah, we got to give
it have to be.
Hot. And also, like, I've just again biased on like I've been impressed with Rich's podcast recently and the conversations he's having, and I think that plays into how they're like more than a camp. They also have 9 individuals going to the game, teams. They have Haley Adams, Guy, Jorge, Roman, Austin, Jack. Like there's, I mean, a bunch of phenomenal athletes. Yeah. So that is our take on.
I think I definitely think they're hot. Like
Hot. Oh, I'm like surprised that you said hot because you've been real like sparse with your hots.
I mean, you just can't deny it. And like, are they going to show up in podium? I'm going to say probably not.
I
But
don't know, Austin's a Mayhem athlete. He
you know
could
what? That's true.
he
I
could
take that
win.
back.
He could podium.
I
I don't
take
know.
that
I think they have a shot. I also think like with their teams, like they're always going to be up there. They're going to be a name. They're going to show up, and they're going to show up big.
Yeah, but also you can't do that. Like just because it's Rich Froning and he won the games and then his team won the games. Like you can only kind of like hang on to that for so long. Somebody else said earlier in the comments like a recency bias with Brute. Okay, but like you can't keep talking about what happened 5 years ago. Like you have to continuously like get better and show why you deserve to be there essentially.
And
So I
Mayhem's
think
kind of done that.
recency bias I think is fair when we're talking about the athletes that are going to be there this season.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. Real quick. I know some people commented on like there's a lot of individuals that don't have a camp, and we made like kind of a list of a bunch of them. But I do think this is something we're seeing from like Jeff Adler to Ariel Lowen, Justin, Amy Kringle, Laura Horvath, even Lucy Campbell with her comeback. Like a lot of them have coaches that they've been with for a long time that maybe coach just them, own an affiliate, or like Ariel Lowen just coaches herself, right? And I think that's something newer that we're seeing, and that plays into like having balance, knowing yourself as an athlete. I mean, Mayhem, if we call it a camp, whatever it is, Rich programmed and coached himself. So I think like it depends. And so did Matt. I mean, Matt's HWPO, but he, for the most part, he had Ben Bergeron for a little bit. But I think some people can do that and some need the help. But I think it's cool to see like more top tier athletes moving away from camps and just being like, I know what I need, or I have one coach that knows what I need.
And we talk about the shift in CrossFit too, like the golden days and, whatever, 2014, 2018, whatever it was, and how a lot of those athletes came out of the affiliate. And now I feel like we're seeing some people go back to that, like Alexis Raptis is training in an affiliate. Mm-hmm. So I think some people say that training camps were part of the cause of that because now they're moving out of that training away from the community. And now it seems like maybe people are trickling back. So I don't know if that will help when we talk about getting other people involved in CrossFit outside the sport. So,
and I think we always say like we want the athletes to be like the pinnacle of the like inspirational that, and there's no better way for them to do that than literally be in the affiliate and know the community, right?
This person says, should top athletes be a part of the gym and community? Absolutely. I went to a gym where one of our members went to regionals and then to the CrossFit Games, and it was the coolest thing. That has a bunch of us showed up to the games that year. It was so cool, and like watching her do Friday Night Lights and the Open, you just get the community so much more bought in. And like some people in the affiliate, most people don't even know what the sport of CrossFit, elite athletes, they don't even know what that is. They don't know what the CrossFit Games are. And it just gets them a little bit more involved and a little bit more buy-in.
Something to rally around. Like it's fun to support someone you know and love and see on a regular basis, like chase a dream. That's fun. Why do you think people love sports?
Yes. I didn't mean to pin that. This one says, someone asked Castro last year if he was surprised athletes had never done Chad, and he said no, because they aren't part of the community. That answers that for me.
And I think that's what you were saying, that maybe they're trickling back into the community, and that might be the shift that we're seeing, because it used to be more that way. It went to training camps. Now we're seeing a little bit more diversity in that space,
Yeah, definitely. The only thing we really have left is our hot take. And
which is a mutual hot take, which is wild.
We actually agree on this, and
should I take it away?
Go ahead.
Our hot take is that we are not super excited that Tia is returning to the games.
Guys, it's so boring. That's like not.
We get it. You're the best of the best of the best. But like, has your time come and passed? It's the worst thing she ever did is be the best. I can't fault her for it.
No, like you can't take not taking away that she is a monster
Amazing.
of an athlete, but like it's so boring to watch. It's always a race for who's going to get second. And now I can't remember, but I think I was at the games the first year that Matt Frazier was not there. And the men's field was so fun again because you had no idea what was going to happen. Everything was up for grabs. And I do kind of miss that in the women's field. And, you know, Tia was gone for a year when she had the kid, and her kid, I didn't mean to say it like that, but that just gives more opportunity. I don't know. She's a great athlete, but it makes it boring to watch.
On Boys Interrupted, they were like, how many years do you think she could win for? And they were saying something like 16 years or something.
Till she was 40, I think is what they said.
She wanted to stop. And I'm just like, yeah, I think probably she could, but like, does she need to like you know what?
If you're her, like, why not though?
Yeah, I mean,
why
amazing, not? Right? Yeah. Oh, did you pin
this says, are you going to the games this year? Probably not. For no reason other than I have a job and can't keep taking off work because I'm going to Europe next week, and then I will be in WFP. But if somebody wants to pay for me to go and find me a dog sitter, I'd definitely be down. Like, I would love to go. I've been to the games, I think 3 times, and it's always a really good time. Love to be there. But I've only been to Madison. So I used to live close enough to where I could drive. So it was an easy jaunt for me.
Wait, real quick before we tap out.
I love it. That was Den's updates, guys. We love her. Besties.
We're giving the people what they want, right?
Yeah.
But we do have some exciting things coming up. We have a really fun guest next week that we're really excited about. So stay tuned for that.
We could start a GoFundMe, please. I would love nothing more than a GoFundMe for me to go to the games, and for Mesa. We got to add her on there too.
Yes.
So
whatever you have to do,
I would gladly go. You can email my boss as well. He actually might be watching this right now. So for me to have some time off. So yeah, we have a guest next week. We'll announce that soon. It is going to be at a different time next week, but again, we'll let you guys all know when that's going to be. But a little bit different time still on Thursday next week. I will be in Europe. So surprise, I'm still going to be doing the podcast when I'm gone. So
they didn't think we could pull it off, but here we are.
I am going to address this. Are you going to be taking questions with the guests? Last time chat got ignored. We probably will not be taking that many comments when we have guests on. Sometimes the chat can get a little crazy, as you can imagine, and we don't want to take that away from the guests. If there's something that they specifically want to address, or it pertains to whatever it is that we're talking about, sure. But we also don't want it to be a debate. We, again, just want it to be their platform to kind of tell their story, whatever that is. And that can get a little murky when the chat is going. So, we'll pick and choose some for sure, but for the most part, as of right now, the chat will be closed.
Kate, real quick. I mean, if this gets us our trips, you know?
I can't even do a strict pull-up right now, you guys.
Because she's injured. Okay, she's very fit. But anyways, we will see you next Thursday. Stay tuned for our guests. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe. Also, feel free, I know you asked about the chat. When we do announce our guest, if you have questions, shoot us a DM on Instagram. If it's a great question, we will address it during the interview. So that's a good way to get it in there. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye, guys. It's fun as always. Thanks for coming.